And what would you say to people who say, oh, I'm not going to bother to register to vote because my voice doesn't make a difference, or I'm just one person?
I say one name, Donald Trump. That should motivate you. You don't have to vote.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
I love it. He probably does already.
Is anybody else surprised that the left can still so easily just minimize and a lot of times just completely nullify anything a conservative says by just claiming that it's some sort of right-wing conspiracy theory? I mean, come on, man. How are they still getting away with this stuff, man? How many freaking times do we have to actually be right? And how many times does the left have to quietly admit that we were right all along? I mean, it is just plain insanity. And it's made even more insane by the fact that they really never really do admit it. I mean, usually when they're in the process of finally admitting the truth, they just act like it's news, like they've just discovered, this just in, we've confirmed 3 years later that Hunter's laptop is real, that kind of stuff. And here we go again, man. CNN, like any good habitually late to the party leftists, they're basically confirming that the Alvin, Bragg, Stormy Daniels hush money misdemeanor case isn't quite what their usual victims think that it is. And we've been telling the left for 8 freaking years, don't do it. Don't mess with this. This is not going to work out like you think. And now they've led with their weakest, most imaginative case. And it's going to lead to either an acquittal or a mistrial. And no matter what the substance of the other cases, this failure in New York is going to hang over them in ways that none of these political operatives that are just currently trying to wield their power and make good on a campaign promise, they cannot see this stuff coming.
I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. I was the chief deputy in the attorney general's office. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times for the Muslim travel ban, for family separation at the border, for shenanigans with the census. So I know how to litigate with him. I also led the team that did the Trump Foundation case.
I mean, the interesting thing is, this guy who is actually a pretty intelligent guy, but this guy thinks that he's going to make himself some sort of Democrat superstar by taking down Trump, when in reality, he is going to be the key reason that Donald Trump gets reelected in November. And everyone who's paying any attention at all is not buying into any of this stuff. And like I said, this is not going to work out like they've planned.
That you're a voter, okay, and you're hearing this stuff, it might actually be just like a fundamental issue of fairness. It doesn't seem fair that Donald Trump's not allowed to criticize him when he's constantly throwing punches at him.
Well, the voters that we talk to obviously don't really care about this case. I cover Donald Trump and I go to his rallies, so no one there is, up in arms.
Do they even know he's on trial?
They do know he's on trial, but they think it's unfair. And I will tell you that this case going first, one of the interesting conversations I had with someone who worked for the Trump administration, was very close to Donald Trump, actually no longer has any ties with him, told me that this case going first made him want to put a MAGA flag in his front yard because he felt like it was unfair. And that's really the sentiment when you go to these rallies.
That's exactly right, man. And I'll tell you from my own personal experience. A year and a half ago, I was ready to move on. I thought it was a good idea to turn the page on Trump. Not anything that he's done or had done or would do, just the 8 years of vitriol, the 8 years of lies, and all the people you can see are just poisoned against the guy. Trump derangement syndrome, that's a real deal. People's brains are broken. And I thought it would give the good guys a better chance of winning if Donald Trump just retired and someone else that hadn't been hammered with almost a decade of negative press just take the reins. But then they started with all this bullshit, and they started really showing their fangs and proving how corrupt, not proving, reminding us how corrupt they really were. And I thought, hell no, dude, not going to happen. We're going to freaking beat these mother effers. They're not going to get away with this stuff. So really, what I'm saying is I was pretty numb after all the never-ending propaganda. And the left, they stepped me out of it with all this lawfare and all this garbage. And I don't think that story is unique. I think there are millions and millions of Trump voters that feel that exact same way. They were the silent majority in 2016. And after 8 years of this insanity, this nonsense, we're not so silent anymore. This is all backfiring. And I think the left, they're starting to see it. The ones that can still see, they are starting to see it.
where Donald Trump has been spending all his days. What is the crime?
There is no crime. That's why they're putting on people like Pecker talking about catch and kill. They're putting on McDougal. They're putting on. There's no crime. And, you know, they ought to be very careful about this because the Supreme Court, the appellate court in Albany, just reversed Harvey Weinstein's conviction on the ground that they put in too much information that wasn't really relevant to the case. And that's what's happening. There is no crime in Manhattan. You cannot figure out what the crime is. That's why they're putting on all this evidence of non-crimes, trying to persuade the jury that catch and kill is a crime. It's not. Paying hush money is a crime. It's not. Putting a corporate statement is a misdemeanor barred by the statute of limitations. You can't suddenly resurrect that and turn that into a crime by invoking a federal statute, which the federal government refused to invoke, and the Federal Election Commission refused to invoke. There is no crime. And if it's Donald Trump, they can go after you tomorrow and your relatives tomorrow for something that isn't a crime. That's why every American, whether you're a Democrat, should be opposed to what's going on in that Manhattan courtroom. It's a scandal, and it's a destruction of...
I mean, people see this. People see that there is no crime. You know, these are not witnesses that the state is putting up. This is just the theater of the absurd put on by desperate political actors. You know, we've been through days and days and days of testimony, and still, even after Stormy Daniels cracking foul jokes and all this other nonsense, the jury has not heard a crime. And I'm sure most of the people on the jury, they have no idea at this point what they're even doing there. They got to wonder what the hell they're even doing there. And unless the prosecution is working on some grand master reveal that literally no one who knows anything about this case can see coming, if they don't have that, this really will go down as the biggest political misstep in probably Democrat Party history. And they've had some pretty good ones. They've had some missteps, man. But really, I mean, this is what you get when you unethically and illegally weaponize your position against, literally, to sound like a Democrat, against democracy itself. I mean, this is what you get. But that's just my take, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, guys, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.